Good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome to Berringer. And today I have a layout update for you. It's a two-part video, and the first part is just going to cover Berringer Station. I know a lot of you have been asking about what I've been up to with it and all the rest of it, and I also wanted to cover the lift up and drop down section for Ballan Parkway, one of my subscriptions that I subscribe to, who was looking for some advice. And since I have a drop down section and a lift up section, I was going to offer him some advice, or if I could anyway. Now, before we get on to that, I wanted to dedicate this video to David Atkins, who's one of my subscribers, who made a comment on one of my previous videos which kind of set the tone as to where I was going to go with Berringer Station in terms of its development. But first of all, I wanted to talk to you also about the objectives before I started showing you what I've done, to see how they fit in with what I've done. The objectives for the modifications to Berringer Station was basically to simplify the track work, as I did at Moorwood, which I really love and I really prefer. So that was one of the big objectives, was to simplify the track work. The other main objective was to extend the platforms to incorporate the whole of my HST, because on my previous incarnation of Berringer, the platforms weren't quite long enough. So I wanted to extend the platforms, so that was another objective. And also I wanted to make Berringer a bit more grander in terms of a station. It's my main station, and I wanted to make it kind of like a bit more grander, and I wanted to create Moorwood as a rural station, which I felt I captured really well, and I wanted to carry that theme on to Berringer. And so, because Berringer was my main station, I wanted to make it look pretty grand. Now, it's very much a work in progress. There isn't going to be a wow factor at the moment with what I'm about to show you. In fact, some of it is going to be quite drastic, I should imagine, to some of you. I know it has been kind of requested and eagerly awaited, this video, but a lot of work has gone into it, even though it doesn't seem like a lot. So the more eager of you will probably have noticed that the station's in the wrong place, or has been moved. It's now not at the Townsend end, but it's now at the Moorwood end, and I'm thinking that this is where it's going to stay. And what I'm going to be doing is, I like the views, and I particularly like this view here, which I think is fab. And it also solves another problem that I had before. Prior, I was saying that there wasn't much lighting down this end of the station, so I've now managed to get another load of lighting down this end. And as we move out, the other point was, because like I said, I wanted to make it grander, so one of the things I wanted to do to make it grander was to make it a bit more of a period feel, and I will get onto that in just a moment. So what else have I done? I've also just added some switches down this end on the panel. I've taken out the 2 points. There was a passing loop here, so I've taken that out. That will basically simplify the track work. It will also, because I was never using the passing loop because it's never really long enough, the 2 point works have gone over to for the R2. What I want to do is I'm going to be removing this canopy from this building, and we'll be replacing it with another canopy exactly the same as that. So basically it's to unify it, so I'm going to raise it to that height and make it the same, and basically just to unify the canopy and make it a bit more, like I said, just to marry it all up, and possibly even extend the canopy down towards the footbridge. As we go further down, as you can see, the whole of the Townsend's disappeared, which seems quite drastic. But what will go in place of this will be 2 listed fascias, and one of them I'm in the process of building, so I'll explain that to you as we get round the corner. But as you can see, the platforms are bigger and they're wider. the other thing is I didn't really want to mess around with the track work down on platforms 4 and 5 too much, so I wanted to kind of leave it. So my step is here currently on platform 3. The other thing I did from before, this is what's changed, is that there used to be a point here, and that used to cross over. So what used to happen is that the HST back end would be here, but the platform would finish here. So that's another reason. So I wanted to extend it out. So if I show you from the other side, I'll show you exactly how it's been extended out. So that's what I have at the moment, and that's what I'm currently building and working on here. And basically what I'm going to be doing is building another one of these fascia ends, and this is going to be turned into a listed kind of fascia. So there's one at this end, and then there's going to be one where that porthole is here, and that's going to come across to here, and then in between it's going to be the same canopies as I've built here. And the premise of this is just basically that these two listed fascias can't be knocked down, obviously, because they're listed, but the roof was rotten, so they've replaced it with something. They've taken the roof down and replaced it with something a bit more economical, hence why they've put down these canopies, which I'm going to be building. So I'm still in the process of putting it all together, but the main thing has been to take up the track work, remove all the points, recreating the new platforms, creating this new fascia, and so that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm about to show you the inspiration for that fascia. So this is the inspiration for my build. One of my other inspirations for the build, I should say. This is a picture of Dover Western Docks, and I come across this picture on Google, and I thought, I want that. So I then asked myself, could I make it, and I thought, yes I can. So that fascia that I have up there is basically the base for what you're seeing in front of you. So once that fascia is going to be clad and looks very similar, it's not going to be exactly the same, because where you see the 47, for example, here, I've got two. So basically that's a double porthole where the SEP is. That's a two line, and this one's only a single line, but I've obviously got one single on the far left, a double, and then I've got another double here. So it's basically based on this picture, but it's not going to be an exact replica. And as you can see from my tunnel ends, I've got the little ends here ready to take the relay boxes, and I'm going to be building these canopies exactly the same as what I have over at Berringer at the moment, and they'll be sticking out of that listed fascia. And so that's how that's going to be. So once it's all built up, so it takes a bit of time to do, but I think I can do it, and I like the idea of it very much. And yes, it's going to take a bit of time, so it's currently a bit of a work in progress, but you know, it's going to get there. I know I'm going to do a grand job of that, because I have every faith in my ability. It's one of the reasons why I took it on. I like to challenge myself. So yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at with Berringer at the moment. I know it seems a bit drastic to what it was before, but it's going to be much more improved. It's going to have improved lighting, it's going to be improved looks, it's going to be much more grounded than what it was before, and also it'll get rid of a few of the niggly issues that I had with the Berringer Station as it was before. So there's no actual point work at all on this section. All the point work has now been moved onto my new drop down section. So this is where all the point work is. And then before I get onto this part of it, I'm just going to show you this bit of it as well, which I've done. Because the whole point of this is that that's just going to be a road that's going to go onto here, because I wanted to keep this simple. I haven't finished it yet. It's just going to be like a yard. So, and again, I haven't finished this either. This is all sort of work in progress. But again, once it's all done, it will look fab. So this is part 2, and this is kind of hopefully some advice to anyone who might need some advice on drop down sections and lift up sections. And this is mainly for Ballan Parkway, and I explained to him that I was going to put up a video to try and see if he wanted to use my ideas or help at all. And this is how my one works. Now, a lot of you, this has been a big bit for me, because a lot of you may remember that actually it used to be a lift up section up until about 2 weeks ago, and it came up and it went up there. It's now turned into a drop down section. The reason why I've changed to a drop down section is the fact that I think it's more reliable than the lift up section. And the reason why I say it's more reliable is that, as you can see, these two tracks have to meet up, and they meet up far better when it's a drop down section than when it's a lift up section. Because when it's a lift up section, what happens is you need to leave a gap, and you need to leave a gap so when the lift up section goes up, the track can go up and over this track. And it was working for a good while before when I had my lift up section, but now in this arrangement I've realised just the benefit of having it as a drop down section. So all the tracks come up to meet it, but then if I lift it up, you can see it comes up to meet it, and it's pretty much spot on. But if you do it as a lift up section, you have to leave the gap to go up and over this track. Otherwise what will happen is it will knock in. If you don't leave a gap, it will just knock it and kink all the track, because you'll be pushing on the track. So, and that's if you leave, and like I said, if you don't leave a gap, and you have to leave a big enough gap to make sure that that doesn't happen. But then what happens is, then some trains go over the gap and then they don't like it. Whereas this way, you're minimising the gap. So that's why I've basically opted for a drop down version now, as opposed to the lift up section. So the lift up section is now in place, and it's wired basically on this end. It's all hardwired, as you can see, all these little white lines, all these white cables, wires, they have to be painted up to blend them in, but basically these are all hardwired directly, and that saves a lot of messing around. So on this end it's hardwired because it doesn't have to connect to the next board. It's attached to this board here. So if I show you underneath, it's all just hardwired directly to the next bit, and that's how that's done. And that transfers the power, the track power across. Now on this side, which is where it attaches to, there's a hinge here, and that locks it into place. And so this doesn't twist, there's also a hinge on the bottom, and that stops the board from doing that. So so that's why that's there. You could also probably put one across there if you wanted to. I've done that before, but I found that it was better this way around. The other thing is I have this connects to this board. So this is the board that isn't attached permanently. So that's like a plug and play plug from Maplin's. That's just like a phono plug, and that just plugs and plays. So this is the spare male and female one that I have, and basically that just plugs into that, and that connects the power across, and it's the easiest way of doing it. I think they were like $2.49 each or something, or $1.49, something like that, from Maplin's. Very easy. This is how it looks like opened up. It's just 2 prongs, and then you just solder one end, or to put a wire on one end and then solder the other end as well. And I just put a bit of electrical tape there to stop it from shorting or making a connection. So that's how I just plug them in. It's pretty much the easiest way that I've found to do it. And like I said, the drop down version is much better than the lift up section. The other thing is if you go for a removable section or a lift out section, then the only downside with that is really to think about where you're going to put it. Have you got the room to store it when you're not using it? And that was something that I was finding here, because this flat is so small that even every time I took out, had a lift out section that I had to put back, I didn't have anywhere to store it when I wasn't using it. So this drop down section is definitely the way to go, in my view anyway, for me. Each to their own, but I found that it's pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll give you a brief demonstration of it in action, so you know how it runs. So I'll just put the camera down, and then you can sort of see how it kind of works. Right, so let's see if Centurion wants to have a go. So here she comes. And we'll just on her back. As you can see, she runs pretty smoothly over the joints. So that's pretty much it. I hope this has been of help to anybody, and to especially Ballan Parkway. I hope this helps you. I mean, this is very much a work in progress at the moment. It is quite a big job, and it has taken quite a lot of time. Like I said, changing the track work's taken a lot of time. Changing this from a lift up to a drop down is also taking a lot of time, and also trying to work out the track geometry to try and get the platforms to be extended fully enough to take my HST. So thanks for watching. Please feel free to comment and subscribe, and I will speak to you all soon when I have a further update for you.